is the Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 295. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at PegasusPodcast@ksn@gmail.com. Christian, how's it going?
You ever have like a incredibly minor inconvenience that just enrages you for absolutely no reason?
Yeah.
I just had that. And
I could tell.
And I'm realizing as I'm about to say it out loud, it's going to just sound so stupid. I was trying to, while the intro was playing, I was like, oh, I should get I use my website I use for stats is sportsreference.com. I should pull up West Virginia's sports reference page. So I have that here because there's a couple things I want to reference. And I typed in so I tried to type in WVU football stats sports reference. And instead I typed in WBU and that broke Google. And instead of just the usual, like, did you mean, it was like, nope, you want Western Baptist stats. And I just, incredibly minor thing, but I just ruined me for a minute there. And I'm really upset that happened.
I could tell I was in the middle of the intro and you hadn't even waved yet to the people like you normally do. And I just watched you go shake your head at your phone, just go. And I was like,
it's such a minor thing, but I just in my head, because I was like, oh, let me quickly get this up before we start. And then I couldn't do that because Google's stupid. And that enraged me a lot. Now I've said out loud, that's incredibly just minor, not a big deal at all. But it did disrupt the wave, which my classic wave to the audience I do at the start of each podcast.
Your trademark bit.
My trademark bit where I wave.
Yeah, it's tough.
The Pegasus wave, that's what they call it. Anyway.
Other than that, how are you?
I'm fine.
Happy homecoming.
UCF's lost three in a row. How are you? Yeah, happy homecoming. Does homecoming, I've been thinking about this. Does homecoming mean anything if you're not a student?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I think it's like, I don't know. I think it means more if you aren't as local, maybe. Where I feel like if like people are going to come back, like I think it's literally that's the purpose of homecoming, right?
You're coming home.
Yeah, where it's like if people live elsewhere, they're like, all right, well, which game? Like, I want to go to UCF for a game this year. I should go back for the homecoming game. And then they usually honor like different alumni classes and stuff. I don't know. I think that's like the basis of it.
No, that all makes perfect sense. I just realized because I kind of forgot this was the homecoming game until like an hour ago. And I was thinking about when you're in college, it's a big deal because there's like events and stuff and Spirit Splash. And I feel like might just be the losing streak. It might just be the losing streak speaking to me right now. I'm just like, or it's just another game.
Nothing matters, and
Nothing
don't care.
Matters.
Speaking of the losing streak, we're gonna go back and look at some of the things we missed from UCF Cincinnati, or rehash some of that, I guess. Before we get into our West Virginia preview, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I've been trying to mentally move on in the last day and a half since that game happened. Starting with. I don't remember even if we even talked about it, or we definitely didn't talk about it at length on the postgame podcast, but starting with the 9-minute drive that featured no points. I just, that if that's not this offense, I don't know.
To me, it's less than no points, and it's more the punt. Like, and I understand it in the context of the drive, but I don't know. I added that to the list because I was talking about, I think I said on a postgame podcast, how the good news is that no one watched this game because it's UCF Cincinnati and the vast majority of the world will just see a competitive game that UCF lost. I didn't realize that the Twitter account Sickos Committee, which you've probably seen, was very into the 9-minute drive that UCF punted on. And I just wanted to take one more minute before we move on to this game to just remind you that UCF had a 9-minute drive where they both, I believe, never entered the red zone and also punted. So just shout out to what I truly think, for better or worse, is one of the most unique drives genuinely in UCF program history. I still kind of can't believe that happened.
I mean, that is a good point because, like, yeah, if it was a 9-minute drive where they like failed on fourth down in the red zone or missed a field goal, it would still suck. But the fact that they punted at the end of it, it went 17 plays too.
Yeah,
like 17 plays, 40 yards.
9-minute drive where they never threatened to score and punted.
And 40 yards.
So UCF could play a century of college football from here on out and would never come close to replicating that. I really am impressed.
I think they talked about it on the broadcast, but they had like a 9-minute drive against North Carolina at the end of that game, didn't they? But like, I don't think they scored on that one, but it wasn't like they punted at the end of
that. That was a running out the clock drive.
Yeah.
Like, let's just play keep away. It was really, they went for it on fourth down once or twice on that drive. And that was just playing keep away. This was the
Not
offense being a thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the offense, we'll stick on that side of the ball. Something I was looking at when I looked at the box score again, kind of again speaking to, I think this can be the case all year long, where they don't just have like one receiver or two like standout receivers. 11 different players caught passes in this game. And that isn't really a point to illustrate that the passing game was like good by any means. It's just like they don't have that guy. So they're just kind of having to throw it around and spread it around to everyone. Do you want the list?
Yeah, sure.
Dylan Wade, Marcus Burke, DJ Black, Chris Domercant, Dwayne Thomas Jr., Thomas Wadsworth, Max Dragg, Jaden Nixon, Miles Montgomery, Stacey Gage, and Waden Charles.
Yeah, I feel like you could. Yeah,
That's 3 tight ends on that list and 3 running backs.
this is going to sound really mean, but I just feel like if I had known in the offseason that Thomas Wadsworth would be catching passes and meaningful snaps, that I would know this season wasn't going to go well. But I don't know. I will say on the positive flip side of that, Chris Domercant had a kind of good game, a little sneakily. Mm-hmm. He had a pretty solid game, and he was someone we haven't seen a ton of. So to turn this into a good thing, is he emerging as a potential weapon for them? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe he just had one game that was whatever. I'm just grasping at straws to try to find something positive about the offense at this point.
The saddest stat line was Waden Charles 1 catch for -1 yard, I think.
I still like Waden a lot. And I love think it's really good that he's out there right now, and I still think that's going to pay off a lot in the future. But yeah.
Absolutely.
You're relying on the true freshman at this point.
Yeah, it's just I hope going into next year they at least have like a trio of wide receivers that it seems like they have those guys on the roster. Like it seems like they will have that. You'd like
Waden, Dwayne Thomas could come back. Day Farmer won't be hurt. There are definitely. Yeah. I genuinely feel even some of the older wide receivers in this room, and Frost has made this point, it's just the lack of experience. Like they have guys who are older and younger, just none of them had played a lot before this season. I don't feel bad about wide receiver going forward. Now, the big, obvious caveat here is like we have to see what happens in the portal. All these guys could leave. That's always on the table, and they'll probably have to go get some guys too. But based on what we know right now, like, yeah, I don't. Wide receiver, like, as we're about to talk about in a second, there's way bigger problems on the offense to discuss and way bigger, like, where's this going in the future? Wide receiver just is what it is right now, and I don't feel bad about that position group going forward by any means.
Yeah, so let's talk about a position group that we do feel bad about, and it's the offensive line. Something you pointed out to me last night, which I really just, I real quick found it like helpful, but also kind of funny and sad that like I'm at the Bucs Stadium, just finished covering a Bucs win. Spirits were high. I was enjoying, did a TV spot, was enjoying myself, and then I get a text from you that's like, 9 different offensive linemen recorded 10 plus snaps for UCF. Number actually is 15 plus snaps for 9 different offensive linemen. And it was just a reminder of what I had witnessed the day before with the other football team that I pay attention to and cover.
But when I sent you that, I also sent you, as a non-NFL enjoyer, I sent you a Baker Mayfield highlight and said this was really cool. So I tried to help your spirits stay high.
I appreciated that at least. But that's what I always think is like sometimes when stuff like that, like sometimes Baker will make plays that like break containment where like you send me something and I'm like, oh, like this just got outside of like the Bucs fan base and everyone's like, whoa.
I feel like I am literally your barometer for when something Bucs related goes mainstream, because I would never see it otherwise.
Yeah. But yeah, this offensive, we've talked about it. I think I'll say it every week until they stop doing it. The shuffling of offensive linemen has to stop.
I know we talked about it on the post-game podcast, and I've known it was a problem, and it's not like this is new information, but just actually seeing in writing that 9 different guys played significant snaps.
And it's not like it was because of injury.
Owen Spell was. I don't think Owen Spell would have gotten out there, but either way, I know that like the dumbest thing you can do as a podcaster is pretend you're the coach, and there are always details and things behind the scenes we don't understand, but I do feel like at the halfway point of the season when the offensive line is the clear weak point, I get trying to make it work. I get trying to find a combo of guys. I also think there's a little bit going on here where I think there's certain plays for certain units and things like that. But I just, at this point in time, you have to find a way to mitigate the penalties. I think the number one thing, even ahead of run blocking at this point and getting the run game going, you have to find a way to mitigate the penalties, because you lost the Cincinnati game because of those penalties. Your offense was completely and utterly ineffective for 3 hours because of the penalties. And you cannot tell me with a straight face the constant churn of personnel is not to blame for that. You just can't tell me that. And yeah, it's hard to be surprised at the constant false starts and delay of games and shot blocks and whatever else when you have 9 different offensive linemen playing meaningful snaps. It's got to stop. It's just got to stop.
I said it on the post-game podcast, like I don't know, like clearly there's not really a configuration of this offensive line that's going to be very good. But you got to pick what you think is going to be the best one. Just stick with it. Like I'm just tired.
You got to start building some consistency. It's the only option left. It's not going to be consistently good, but it's got to be at least consistent. And maybe you can cut back on the penalties and just deal with it. I don't know. I just it's getting a little crazy.
There's 6 games into the season. Like they've got
and it's kind of funny. This has been like your ultimate victory lap, I feel like, because there are dueling philosophies on how to handle an offensive line. Like Herb Hand at UCF, it was very. These are the 5 guys, and those are the only 5 guys you're really ever going to see out there, regardless of injury. And different coaches do it different ways. There have also been, like other schools around the country, they do rotate offensive linemen. And you in particular have always been very big on like, don't rotate offensive linemen. So I feel like this is like a little bit of your point being proven correctly.
What I always appreciated about Herb Hand too, I think, and I don't think I'm misremembering this, but it seemed like, it would be the 5 guys. His weird thing with the philosophy was like picking the best 5 guys and sometimes like playing them out of position. But even still, like it worked because he found the position that worked for them, and I couldn't be mad at it because they were effective. Right. It's like this one, it's like I don't understand any reason to be rotating your guards as if they're edge rushers. Yeah. Like I don't know. And I literally, I think part of that whole take from me is like based on logic for the most part. And then I draw from literally one conversation I had with a Bucs offensive line coach about that philosophy of having your guys gel together throughout the course of an offseason or a training camp. And there's no surprises. There's no unfamiliarity. It's just, And then when things are as sloppy as they are with this offensive line, it's easy to be like, I think that's part of the reason why. And like, maybe part of it is a talent thing and a lack of discipline thing, but I think for the most part, it really is just the lack of familiarity and lack of experience together as a unit. And it's just frustrating. Yeah.
And obviously I like the part of this all as well, obviously, is the offensive line is going through something horrible with Sean Clark's passing over this year. And that is obviously a thing as well. We haven't really talked about that since it happened. By the way, Cincinnati had a tribute for Sean Clark during the game, which was pretty cool. And I just, I feel like it's really sorry. I feel like if you're wondering, because I know I've seen like a stray comment on Twitter here and there, why like we don't talk about that with the O-line. That just feels wrong to discuss that anymore. You know, like that's just such a horrible thing. But
I think it's an understood thing.
That's the thing. And like, so I do understand that the offensive line like is just going through something unspeakably horrible right now. But it's been a stretch for just everything going on.
I guess kind of a segue into the UCF West Virginia preview. You mentioned how Cincinnati had a tribute for Sean Clark. Scott Frost said in his press conference today, he was asked about kind of Rich Rodriguez and the situation that he is in at West Virginia being pretty similar to him. And rather than kind of even diving into that, he kind of just answered the question by saying a thank you to Rich Rod and the West Virginia program, because he said when Sean Clark passed, they sent like a huge envelope of like cards from everybody, like basically in like their football office. And they all had written very nice, like meaningful notes, sending their condolences. And he said like he like opened up the envelope and like a bunch of cards just fell out. So he was like, that was very much like kind of speaks to that program and who he is. So I thought that was
really
very cool.
That just made me, now I want to see Rich Rod get West Virginia going, like literally off of hearing that. That's very, very cool.
UCF West Virginia on Saturday for a very weird 1:00 kickoff time on TNT.
Very normal.
It's just very weird. UCF comes in at 3 and
kind of pissing me off. Sorry to immediately step on your preview, which is what we're here to do, but kind of pissing me. Sorry, man. I'm annoyed by it because we've talked about consistently on this podcast. Like I'm on earth to watch college football. Like that's why I'm here. And I'm getting robbed of an hour here with this stupid 1 p.m. because that's not going to impact. I'm in no way able to watch any of the noon slate because of this. I'm just it's just cutting into the college football and be able to watch after the game is over.
So, I had that realization yesterday because I was looking at the slate. And excuse me for those of you watching on YouTube. I'm going to look to my left here because I have the schedule written out. But
yeah, how dare you show your side profile on YouTube?
Saturday at noon, there are a few like these more like Big 12 games like Arizona, Houston, Baylor, TCU that I'm interested in that won't get to watch much of because of the 1:00 kick. Then it will cut into the 3:30 window, partly because the game will go 1 to 4, 1 to 4:30, and this is different for you too because you'll be at the stadium. I forgot about that. Yeah, it is a home game. I'm not going to be there, so it's like not as drastic for me. But the 3:30 slate has Ole Miss and Georgia as a top 10 matchup, and a whole chunk of that is cut into by a 1:00 kickoff on TNT.
I'm not going to be, but by the time I'm done with post game and out of the stadium and home and have done the live post game and can just sit down and watch college football, it's probably going to be about time for the 7:00 games.
Yeah,
that's what I'm up against. So shout out to TNT for very directly targeting me and my happiness with this stupid kickoff time.
I know you probably looked at the slate already, but you want me to make you feel better about being able to just kind of settle in for the night slate?
That the night slate's really good.
Yeah, Tennessee, Alabama, USC, Notre Dame, Utah, BYU. Good.
It's great.
So that'll be fun.
Very excited. Yeah.
I'm bummed that I won't be able to be there and won't be able to watch that night slate with you.
Yeah. So if you're, Bailey just doesn't want to go to the game. If UCF had won a few, maybe he would go. But
so now I have to explain myself. I don't remember.
This is kind of my way of forcing you to explain yourself because you have a very good reason for missing the game.
Yeah. So Saturday morning is the Alzheimer's walk in Tampa, and I will be there walking with my family to honor my grandfather, who we lost last year. So all summer pretty much, my mom was like, "Oh, this is the date for it." When the date came out, and I was like, "Okay." I looked at the schedule, of course, as I do, and see West Virginia, and I was like, "All right, well, hopefully, West Virginia, hopefully that game will kick at 3:30 or 6 or 7, maybe even 4. I could have made because it's an early morning walk." And then they're like, "Hey, how about 1 o'clock?" And I was like, "Yep, cool, can't be there." So
this is another reason because we discussed this for weeks going back, and obviously it's a very important thing and a very good cause, and it's just another way that TNT sucks. It's just stupid.
1 o'clock game. Anyway, back to it. UCF comes in at 3-3, 0-3 in the Big 12. West Virginia 2-4, 0-3 in the Big 12. So somebody's going to get their first Big 12 win of the season.
Dear God, if it's not UCF, man, I really.
The fact you may not know, I didn't do this on purpose, but I actually did I got away from the inventions and the discoveries topic this week.
That's too bad. I was excited to find out what potato chip is tied to West Virginia.
There wasn't a lot. I did look at some inventions, and there weren't a lot. But anyway, what I landed on, I actually didn't even land on a single one. It's kind of I'm taking some liberties here. I looked at just some of their famous alums, and there's some surprising people on here that I didn't know attended there. Not all of them graduated, but obviously I'm starting with Tavon Austin, who has the most iconic highlight video ever. Everybody knows that he went there. It has 25 million views on YouTube, including I watched it a week and a half ago.
25 million, you're 6,000 of them.
Probably. Some more random ones that I didn't know about. Lady Gaga's mother, she was a cheerleader at West Virginia. Billy Mays, the TV pitch man, who was an iconic guy. He was a walk-on linebacker for West Virginia back in his day. Steve Harvey, the Family Feud host and talk show host of everything. He attended but didn't graduate. I think he also attended Kent State, I found out. So he's had 2 schools to his name. Jerry West,
pioneer for the transfer portal era, apparently. But yeah.
Jerry West, the NBA logo man. And then professional wrestler Heath Slater. He's got kids. So that was I was looking at this, and the first one that popped up to me was it said it was number 2 fact on this list I was looking at. It was Lady Gaga's mom went there, and I was like, what the hell? And then I went and looked at the long list and saw Steve Harvey and Billy Mays and was amazed.
You were amazed at Billy Mays. I think what's most interesting about the way my brain works is the only one of those that had any kind of impact on me was Lady Gaga's mom. And I'm not even really in any way a Lady Gaga fan. That was just the only one that I was like, whoa, wow, really? And the other ones I'm like, whatever.
It's the randomness of it to me.
Do you know Lady Gaga's real name? I'm just realizing I don't, because I realized in my brain I thought this meant the mom's last name was Gaga, which doesn't make sense for multiple reasons.
I had the mom's name and I don't remember what it was, but Lady Gaga's name I don't know. Do you want me to look it up? I kind of want to now that that's just what we're doing.
Yeah, because if you're listening to this and you're like us now, you're not going to be able to think about anything except what Lady Gaga's name.
Okay. Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanata.
You got to pick one at some point.
That's 4 names.
That's a lot of names. That's too many.
Known professionally as Lady Gaga, just professionally, though, not.
I don't know. I always think about that with certain stage names. If I were, again, I don't anticipate meeting Lady Gaga, and I don't really think that's the thing that'll happen. But if it did, how am I supposed to address her?
Miss Gaga.
Miss Gaga? I'm supposed to call her Lady? I don't know what you're supposed to.
Lady
I don't
G.
know. I don't know how you're supposed to. How would you get if you're in a crowd and you have to get Lady Gaga's attention?
You just scream Gaga. I think
you would just yell Gaga at her.
I think so.
Okay.
Probably. She's probably used to it.
If someone saw you in a crowd and was like Adams, that would be kind of weird.
I'd look. It would work. It would work.
Yeah, get the job done.
Can I give you a bonus one because this one was kind of crazy? It just was a small thing.
We're 7 games in. I think I'm at like 30 facts you may not know, but yeah, go ahead.
It's honestly my favorite part of prepping for these podcasts these days, which maybe is more to the football being not great. But before they became the Mountaineers in 1905, West Virginia was known as the Snakes. Not a specific snake, just the Snakes.
Oh, West Virginia Snakes. Did they have a logo? It had to be a specific.
I couldn't find it.
In my head, it's a copperhead. I don't know why.
I don't know. But apparently, I was reading about it a little bit, and I guess even for years afterwards, after they changed it, Pitt fans, who obviously they're rivals with Pitt fans would still use the term snakes as like a derogatory term for West Virginia fans or just like West Virginians in general. What?
I'm an idiot.
Why?
I'm just an idiot. I don't know if we've talked about this in the podcast in 5 years of doing it. I'm terrified of snakes. Like,
I hate snakes.
I'm terrified of snakes. Like I can't. I go numb like when I'm around them. Like I have trouble breathing. Like I can't be around them. Mm-hmm. I typed in West Virginia snakes to see if like the logo comes. I didn't think that I was just going to get.
I did the same thing. I did the same exact thing an hour and a half ago.
So I'm just confronted with all these photos.
Yep, I did the same exact thing. And then I stupidly went to Helmet History, which is a great website, which you and I were watching the early slate of games on the day of the Kansas game, and I was just scrolling through just random teams. And I was like, look at this one.
You were playing this game that I loved where you would start at the very beginning and scroll and see like if I could get it before it became obvious who the helmet belonged to. And that was very
speaking of which, I was like, well, let me go see if they had a West Virginia Snakes helmet. Of course they didn't. It was 1905. Or it was before 1905, so it was just leather. So I never found a logo or anything or any kind of merch or I don't know, nothing. So yeah, that was that. That was the bonus fact. Some other stuff before we get into the general topic here. UCF has never beaten West Virginia. They're 0-4 all time, and if you're into weird number coincidences, the losses came in 2003, 2004, 2023, and 2024. I don't know why I took that to mean something like good for Saturday because it's not a 3 or 4 year.
That's certainly a thing that means something.
Listen, I'm grasping at straws. They just need to win this game. We'll go ahead and just get right into the main topic. I said right into the main topic as if we didn't just spend 15 minutes on facts you may not know, but they have to win this game.
They have no choice but to. And it's for 2 reasons, really. The first reason is that obviously the season is by all senses over. If they lose this game, I really can't fathom if they drop to 3-4 at this point, especially and lose to an opponent like this. I don't know what path you could come up with to get them to a bowl. You're looking at, I mean, I don't mean to be alarmist, but if they lose this game, you're seriously genuinely looking at a 3-9 or 4-8 season. You are. That's the first reason, is that it would be, basically kill the season if they lose this game. The second reason is it would be so unspeakably embarrassing to lose to a team that is this bad. I mean, West Virginia is just, we're going to get into it here, but they are nightmarishly bad. And I think what makes that interesting is that they are very much in a similar situation to UCF going into the season where they fired their coach, brought in a retread, and tried and recapture their glory days with an old coach. And what's interesting is that I thought West Virginia had an advantage here because Rich Rodriguez has been a sitting coach in college football and could bring players with him. He did bring a number of Jacksonville State players with him, but for some reason, UCF season has been, we're competitive with everyone we play. There are just enough issues that we can't get over the hump. West Virginia season has been dumpster fire. It is so embarrassing if UCF cannot find a way to win this game, especially at home for homecoming. This team is beyond awful.
Yeah, so they started out with a 45-3 win over Robert Morris. Then they lost 17-10 at Ohio. They
Shout out Parker Navarro.
Beat Pitt 31-24 in overtime. Then since then have lost 41-10 to Kansas, 48-14 to Utah at home, and 38-24 at BYU. Then they had their bye week this past week, which, I mean, something you sent me, Rich Rodriguez, 21-7 in his career coming off of bye weeks.
Terrifying.
So
also, unsurprisingly, if you go on social media, whether it be Twitter, the message boards, whatever, West Virginia fans are very confident that this is their, like, oh, don't worry, we're fine now because we get to play UCF. Like, this is our bounce back game. And, like, I can't even get overly worked up about that because UCF is also 0-3 in conference. And if you're a West Virginia fan, you have to hope for something. But, like, UCF should, on paper, be a significantly better team than what West Virginia is rolling out on both sides of the ball. So I hate the anxiety I'm having because it's just going to be so insane if they lose this game. I mean, really would be just the first truly unacceptable result of the second Scott Frost era.
I hate UCF being in this spot because again, like I can't get worked up about it, but it's such a stark difference from, and then obviously they lost the game. But remember when we were at Louisville in 2021, we were walking into the stadium and Louisville fans were like, "There's no chance we beat you guys."
Yep.
And I was just like, "Oh wow!" Like they actually think of UCF that way. And I remember earlier this season when Kansas State was an absolute disaster. They were like looking at the rest of their schedule. They're like, "This team might win like 3 or 4 games." And someone was like, "Well, where are the wins?" And they were like, "Well, UCF." And I couldn't be like, "Well, no." It was just like, yeah, like, yeah. And they did. They beat UCF. So it's like, at some point, UCF has to put a stop to that.
I
was like, I miss winning. Like, that's the thing. I just miss winning.
The meme from The Office, if you've seen that show, all the like, everyone pointing finger guns at each other. Mm-hmm. That's West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and UCF all thinking that they're going to get wins off the others. Like, and someone's going to be wrong, but that's very much what it is right now.
And something else I texted you earlier was like, not only is it in the context of the entire season, like the season is shot. They're just not going to get to a bowl game if they don't beat. Not only because like where are you going to find 3 other wins if they don't win this game? It's also just like, yes, it's that, but it's also if you can't beat this West Virginia team, there's no point even looking at the rest of the schedule. And I know there's a week to week randomness of college football, but it's just it will do so much to damage any kind of hope, at least for me. And not only that, but like it would be 4 losses in a row and it would be going into a bye week.
Not to mention it would just be like, this would be the final nail in the coffin of even pretending the bounce house is an intimidating environment. If a team like this comes in there and wins on homecoming. And listen, 2023 UCF had West Virginia for homecoming. A lot of West Virginia fans were there. And Matt Marshall tweeted that apparently the expectation is they're going to be maybe even more this time. They've snapped up the 2,500 tickets that are for visitors. There will probably be a very big road presence. The idea of Saturday being UCF's homecoming, where the stadium is filled with rowdy West Virginia fans, and this West Virginia team that has been beyond uncompetitive and has rotated like a billion quarterbacks and had their starting quarterback opt out for the season and can't do anything on either sides of the ball wins. It would be, I don't want to like put myself in a box where then we have to like, UCF loses, then we have to like keep talking about the rest of the season. But guys, this is do or die time. They can't lose this game. It is such an admonishment of where things are at if they lose this game.
I don't know how many times on and off the podcast I've referenced that Panthers podcast that just shut down a couple weeks ago. The Panthers are 2-0 since that happened, and I'm like, do we shut down the Titans?
You're in the habit now of like any minor UCF games, you just send me that screenshot of the Bleacher Report tweet. It's like Panthers podcast shut down.
Yeah, but I'm like, do we shut down and then or like take a hiatus just so like a last ditch effort to just get UCF to start winning?
It's always weird, the stupid, like, sport. Like, I feel like I'm not any kind of, like, I'm not a jinx person. I'm not even a religious person. Like, and something about being a sports fan just makes you like that. Like, I remember so specifically, it was 2018, and UCF was playing on the road at Memphis, that, the game with Milton, the game where Milton was a fidget spinner in the air. And they were down by a ton, and I turned the TV off. Not because I'm, like, an angry fan. I was just so disgusted and sickened that they were gonna lose a game, because that was when they're on the win streak. I just turned off. The second I turned the TV off, the comeback started, and I didn't watch the game because I'm desperately like waiting for texts from you and our friend Sarah and checking Twitter. But I'm like, if I turn the TV back on, it will stop. And I know that's not rational, but so if I'm those Panthers podcasters, they can never have a podcast again.
They can't come back.
No, they can't. The second they come back, they will lose. So
until they lose, they obviously they're going to lose at some point. Probably.
Do we know that?
No, we don't yet. But at some point, if they do, and then they're safe, and they're like, all right, we can come back if we want to.
The start of the Panthers' 45-game win streak, NFL record setting.
All right, let's get into some matchups. UCF's offense versus West Virginia's defense. West Virginia, they're bad at defense, man.
Very bad
at everything.
Not good at doing the defense.
98th in total defense, 114th in passing defense, 100th in rushing defense. So, the problem is, and they were allowing 37.8 points per game against Power 4 teams. The problem I'll have every time we talk about an opposing team's defense is I'm like, can UCF's offense take advantage of it? And I'd like to think that when it's this bad, the answer is yes. I don't know.
You know what can kill it?
What?
And it's not quarterback,
penalties.
which, by the way, Scott Frost did say in his press conference that they should be all hands on deck, was what he said for the quarterbacks. They should all be healthy again, so they'll have to make a decision.
So
Now they have to make the call. Is it Cam or is it Taven? And honestly, I don't know. I was feeling really bullish on Cam when we did our post-game podcast. I've since wondered, and when you're playing a team this bad, if you should just go with the steady option. I don't know. That's up to them to decide. They have to figure it out. But, I mean, the thing that can kill it, it's not the quarterback situation. It's not can they run block suddenly. It's not can the wide receivers. It's if the freaking penalties happen again. If you are having 30 plus, like it doesn't matter who the opponent is. If you're having 30 plus yard catches down the field being wiped out by penalties, like, yeah, you can lose the game. So that is issue. Yeah, it doesn't matter how bad they are. If that's still an issue, yeah, the offense might shut down again.
I think that's maybe what might be even more frustrating about UCF's offense. Well, maybe it's not more. Part of, I don't know, maybe it is the fact that it's the penalties. They're not turning the ball over at a high clip. Like they're not throwing interceptions. They're not like fumbling the ball away. Like drives aren't being killed by turnovers. They're just being killed by facing a 3rd and 29 because a false start happened and then, an illegal shift or whatever, a hold. Doesn't matter what it is. And that's why it's so maddening to watch because you can't even really – it's like – and this is maybe a niche reference, although it's the biggest sport in the world. But like with VAR in soccer, it's like these days with VAR, anytime a goal is scored, you have to like give it a second or two before you can celebrate because you're like, I don't know if they're going to call this back for whatever. Anytime UCF gets a big play, I'm like, all right, let me make sure there's no flags. Let me make sure there's no flags. Okay. And that it's frustrating and annoying to watch an offense that does that and operates that way.
You talk about turnovers. UCF has thrown 2 interceptions this season.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
We get to 6 games. They would have thrown 2 interceptions. And this is an offense that's primarily been throwing the ball. It's frustrating.
They've had to.
And yeah, for everything we just said about how bad West Virginia's defense is, I mean, it is bad. They're allowing 2.75 points per drive on the season. Their opponents have scored on 46% of all drives that West Virginia's defense has faced this season. Like this is, if you're UCF's offense, this is supposed to be your get back game. This is a defensive line that you can run on, that even this offensive line should be able to perform against. This is a game where the quarterback should feel more comfortable. It's a game where the wide receiver should have an easier time getting open. Like this is the game where you start to feel good about your offense again. Really, whether it's Taven or Cam. And I don't know. I really don't know if the offense that comes out against this defense, which full disclosure, West Virginia's also had some injury issues and like off the bye week, that's probably going to be a little better. But if this is another 13-point outing, I don't know what you do. I really don't know what you do at that point.
So let me ask you, if you're Scott Frost, who do you start?
That's up to him. That's his business.
Okay. I said if you are Scott Frost. So I love the idea of – actually, he kind of did that today. I was going to say I love the idea of Scott Frost being like, I don't know, that's up to the coach. He pretty much said today, he was like talking, he goes, yeah, that might be a coach's decision. It's like, what do you mean might be?
His phrasing was so funny because it implied like someone else. I'm laughing at the idea, and I know it's not the way this works, but I'm just laughing at the idea of like Milton comes into Frost's office and thinks they're going to talk game plan or something, and sits down, and Frost's like, who are you going to start? And Milton's like, what? And he's like, who is it? Which of the quarterbacks do you want to start?
Yeah, might
and
be a coach's decision.
Milton will have input, but I was still laughing at that phrasing, like Frost, like it's someone else who's going to have to decide.
It's not up to me. Don't look at me. It's not up to me. I can't make the decision. Who's to say?
And this is why I would be a very bad college football coach, because I'm in life, I haven't been big on like taking accountability. Like I generally am like only going to own up to something if it went well. So like I would totally be pulling what Frost, I really think he was just talking, didn't mean it that way in any way. But like you asking me if I was Scott Frost on the presser today, I would have been like, I'm very interested to see who Mackenzie Milton recommends to be the quarterback. And then if it went well, I would have been like, I'm happy that Cam Fancher, who I selected, played well. And if it didn't go well, I'd be like, we're looking for a new quarterbacks coach. I would just deflect however I can. But this is so tough because, all right, let's just look at it. Let's not even touch Jakari. There's obviously no way he starts. That's the one decision you can make where it'd be like, let's get a new coach. But you've got Taven and you've got Cam Fancher. Taven, the pros are, I think he's more balanced. I think, he's not, he's not as mobile. I think he's pretty good at those like short range passes. If something's there anywhere from like behind the line of scrimmage to 10 yards out, I think he's going to get you that. But he's not mobile. And if the offensive line continues to struggle, he's shown that he doesn't feel pressure very well. He's also been hurt a lot. And, he can't always get away from that pressure. And he's going to get hit more, and those injuries may rear their ugly heads again. Cam Fancher, escapes much better, has shown that when there is not a play to be had, he might be able to just go get you 5-6 yards on the ground.
Just had a 100-yard rushing game.
Got a 100-yard rushing game. It was really the only part of the offense that did anything, was he was just able to run around when things broke down. Much better deep ball than Taven. After what rewatches some of the game, I think I'm comfortable saying that he throws a better ball downfield. Maybe not as he had more than a few misfires in that short to mid-range game, and that's what you don't really get with Taven. So like, I don't know. There's just not a clear choice here at this point. I really don't know.
I don't know. I
don't know.
Never would have thought I'd ever say this, but I think I'm leaning toward Cam.
Just because of when things break down, just because you might.
I think it's that, and I think it's the deep ball. They're going to be there. They're going to be able to hit some explosive plays through that, and I don't know. I don't know. I think Taven has done that a little bit too. Like they've had some explosive plays. I mean, think about the second half of the Jacksonville State game. That's how they won the game. They had the long touchdown passes, but yeah, I think Cam throws a better ball, and I don't know. The problem is, like, I think given the way West Virginia is, and it's funny because they're probably saying the same thing about UCF, but it's like this either of those quarterbacks should be able to beat West Virginia.
Yes,
either one.
You're right.
So pick one. Like I don't know.
I think I'm with you where I think I'm like 55% in on it being Cam and 45%.
That feels like a good percentage.
Yeah. And I'm ready to get on a post-game podcast and torch the staff when it doesn't go well, even though I'm admitting right now I have no idea what they should do.
Yeah.
It's tough. And this is, like I said, it's not new information, but it's the nightmare scenario is we're deep into the season and no quarterback has established themselves, and there's not much of a difference between them. It's just a weird situation to be stuck in. Okay,
I knew I'm not crazy. It was a 39-yard touchdown and a 33-yard touchdown to beat Jacksonville State.
One of those was a 30. Yeah, but where was it caught?
I don't know.
I'm saying this actively not remembering the play in my brain.
I don't remember.
Mostly through the air. But what I saw from Cam that I genuinely don't think we've seen from Taven was him just slinging it downfield. Like that ball is traveling 30 yards in the air and hitting those accurately. Of course, then UCF's offensive line was kind enough to take some of those off the board. But yeah.
And then I think about do that. The first play of the season where he had a wide open guy deep down the field and just missed him. And
I actually forgot about that.
I'm surprised that has because that's stuck in my mind.
I take it back. Start Taven. I forgot he did that.
That's stuck in my mind because I'm like the rest of that entire night I was thinking, man, if he just hits that first pass.
It's so stupid because they won that game, but in my brain, if Cam hits that, I think UCF's 4-3 right now. Or 4-2. 4-2. I corrected myself. I don't know. That makes absolutely no sense, but I just think the vibes would have shifted.
You're right, it doesn't.
But I'm a big believer in the vibes of college football, much like you are, and I don't know. If they had opened the Frost era that way, I think they would have played with more energy and confidence through the rest of the games. I know as I'm saying that out loud, that's stupid and not true, but I'm just going to believe that.
Interesting. Let's talk about the better side of the ball.
Okay.
UCF's defense, which has actually been good.
Very good. Very good defense this year.
Which again is why this has been very frustrating. It's like if you give this defense to the 2023 UCF offense, it'd be a lot better. But in a fun season.
There's a certain quarterback whose name we're not allowed to say anymore, and if you match this, for as much as we maligned him while he was here, if you were to match him with this defense, I feel like it would be kind of fun.
Yeah, probably would.
But that's kind of been the story of UCF for the last decade, right? Is it going to a point and going, well, it can't get worse than this, and then going lower and going, well, it can't get worse than this, and just doing that repeatedly season after season. It's kind of what it's been.
Yeah, because I've seen people be like, and it is revisionist history, but I've seen them talk about that quarterback, and I'm like, yeah, like as much as we talked about, it's like, man, I didn't know how bad it was going to get, and that is a crazy thing to think about given the context of that time and that era. But
you didn't realize that when he played his last snap as a Knight, that UCF was about to start 6 quarterbacks across 14 games. So yeah. Anyway, back to the defense, which we were trying to get to. This is a West Virginia offense that like you said earlier, has cycled through quarterbacks. Their starting quarterback for the beginning of the year, who I thought was supposed to be like, not that I thought West Virginia was going to be that good, but there were some high hopes for him. Yeah. Nico Marchell. He started the first 4 games and then he opted out and he hit the portal. He had a foot injury and has decided I've had it at West Virginia apparently. Which I thought was at the time it raised some eyebrows because I was like, I thought he was supposed to be like the next
guy like Garrett Green was at West Virginia. And they've played 5 quarterbacks. They don't have a quarterback. They don't even have an option as good as UCF has.
No, they really don't. They're like in get ready to learn 2024 UCF quarterback room, buddy. Like they are just desperately cycling through guys. Seems like Khalil Wilkins has gotten a good amount of snaps the last couple of games, but again, it's like their box scores are so freaking weird. It's like they just got like my personal favorite was did I put this in here somewhere that there was a oh no, I might have deleted it. Where was the in one of their I think in their Utah game, I think they had like it was something ridiculous. They had like 6 pass attempts or something the whole game.
Wouldn't surprise me. Let me look at it. But the thing is, like Wilkins, he's a freshman coming into an environment that you'd like to think is going to be a little bit hostile. I don't think you can say it's like one of the toughest environments in football anymore, unfortunately.
We'd be lying to ourselves if we said that. But
I just looked up UCF versus Utah. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at those stats. But you'd like to think that this is an offense that especially with the way this defense is playing, that it should be extremely difficult, if not impossible, for them to move the ball on UCF.
Now, the caveat being UCF has lost Horace Lockett. Sincere Edwards only registered 4 snaps, and it looked like he left kind of early. We don't really know what's going on there. I don't think they gave an update on that in the presser, did they?
No.
Yeah, so the caveat is as good as this defense has been, it's starting to get banged up. But, yeah, either way.
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
They completed 6 passes. They were 6 of 13 between 2 quarterbacks.
That's
Khalil Wilkins was 3 of 6 for 63 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Henderson was 3 of 7 for 22 yards.
Those are those rich rod offenses at West Virginia we know and love. UCF's defense West Virginia's offense has largely been in free fall. They don't know what they're doing at quarterback. They don't have a lot of playmakers. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had a couple guys leave the team. UCF's defense should largely have their way with this group. I feel better. I think in my mind, I expect, they're averaging 19.8 per game against Power 4 teams. They're not scoring a lot. I think UCF's defense will be able to hold them down. It's just, in my mind, it just remains the question of, is UCF's offense going to be able to be functional enough and do enough to take advantage of that? But yeah, that's the biggest thing going for UCF is I really don't think West Virginia's offense is going to be able to do much of anything here.
And it would help, like, obviously, with them not really having a quarterback that they can trust yet, it would help if their run game was better, but I know Jaheim White is out for the season, and I'm pretty sure he was one of like their guys.
Yeah.
So they're missing a lot of guys. They, as much as they're rotating quarterbacks, they're rotating guys at running back and wide receiver because they're just trying to figure out what works. Basically, in some ways, what UCF is doing, but to a worse extent, I think. So. Yeah, you sent me this stat that they're 132nd in time of possession and 129th in third down conversion rate. That's it. That's like you get to the bottom of the list and that's it.
That's like the bottom of FBS, like all of FBS. That's genuinely like shockingly bad number. I'm actually like reading. I had all these stats obviously, but reading this out, I'm getting offended in my brain that West Virginia fans think they're going to win this game. Which is bad because UCF could totally shut down on offense and lose the game. But it's like they're so like just accept your season's over. Don't go thinking you're going to win games.
How many Division 1 teams are we up to now? Is it 134?
This year are 136.
136. So yeah, 132nd and 129th. Not good. I knew it was toward the bottom, but I couldn't remember if it was where we were at with the numbers these days. But yeah, this defense, the linebackers, I wish I could go back a couple of years and just tell myself, listen, the linebacker play will get better. And it has.
That would have been no comfort to me at the time because I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to be better next weekend. So I don't care. But yeah, linebacker play has been solid this year.
It has been good. The secondary.
Lewis Carter in particular, I just want to call him out. And we knew that was a big get. Like Oklahoma was, we knew it was a big get when Oklahoma fans were shocked and upset to find out he was leaving. That man, he is someone that UCF can hold on to going forward because he is a star in the middle. Like he is really freaking good. And that is cool to have that in the middle of the defense after what we went through the last couple of years.
Yeah. And John Walker's still doing John Walker things. And I don't know, I feel good about this group and hopefully this is the kind of thing where they dominate and just completely stifle the offense. And the UCF offense only has to do so much. Like if they can score 24 points, that would be hopefully enough. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the thing you have to understand if you're listening to this podcast and you're someone and you're a UCF fan who has a Twitter account, you've probably tweeted UCF sucks or UCF is bad. And I would just ask you guys to show some respect to reality and please edit your tweets to UCF's offense sucks or UCF's offense is bad. Defense has been really good. They don't deserve to be lumped in. They're very solid.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we do score predictions?
You're going to be in for an all-timer negative post-game pod if they lose this game. It's going to be something. I really don't even know what to say.
They better, I don't know. Part of it is like they better not because I'm going to be at home. The time it takes for you to do post-game and then get back to your apartment while I'm waiting for you to be ready to do post-game, if they lose, I'm just going to be pacing my apartment probably. Yeah. Just probably talking under my breath to no one. And I don't know. It's
pretty frustrating because for as much as this losing streak has been unfortunate, it's 3 games. 3-game losing streaks happen. Winning this prevents it from becoming like, again, that dreaded 5-game losing streak UCF has to do every year because this would get them to 4. And also just like, as frustrating as it's been, we're not to the point yet where the goals are off the table. Like there's still a roadmap here for UCF to get to a bowl, which was always like the final end game goal here. And if you lose this, it's like then we're sitting here just about halfway through the season going, okay, yeah, no, they're just really bad. And that doesn't change the trajectory of the Frost era as a whole. It would just more be like, well, now we have to give up on the season. And that's just going to be so unfortunate.
And I think, like I said earlier, as bad as it would be to go in 4-game losing streak into a bye week, so that's 5 weeks without winning, and then it's a tough game at Baylor, so it could turn into a 5-game losing streak, 6 weeks without winning. It's just on the flip side, if they win, we get to sit here for the entire bye week saying UCF is 4-3. They need to find 2 more wins to get to a bowl game.
Yep.
And they have that Oklahoma State game that's another game that's kind of like this where it should be extremely winnable, and then they just got to find 1 more. So we can restore some hope and feel better about things looking up if they can find a way to get this done. We'd have a happy podcast on Saturday. We'd have another happy bye week podcast, and then we'd have a happy but also kind of like, all right, maybe we're gonna have to get back to reality preview pod the next week. But
on top of that, let's just feed the lunacy. So UCF plays West Virginia. Say they get a win there, then they have a bye before Baylor. Baylor in between, then they have to play at TCU and at Cincinnati. Baylor could be 4-4 and reeling coming into that UCF game, and then UCF after Baylor. Right after that, they have Houston space game. All of a sudden, you're like, hold on a second, could UCF win 3 in a row? These are the swings we go through
in the matter of like 5 minutes.
By the way, when I say Houston, I just have to acknowledge I'm aware Houston is 5-1. That team sucks. I'm sorry. I mean, their record. I'm sorry. It's not a good team. I'm just being honest.
On the flip side of that, as you're doubling down on your Houston takes, I've decided that for the time being, I'm going to respect Baylor because you did point out last week that like they've been doing fine. I don't know why in my mind that they're doing worse than they have been, but I reserve the right if they do lose these next 2 games and come into that game at 4-4. I reserve the right to go back to being like, this is not that great of a team and they're beatable.
I believe
you're actually good.
Calling my shot now. I believe they will beat TCU and lose to Cincinnati.
TCU's falling apart, man.
I don't know what's going on there. And if this were a Horned Frogs podcast, we'd get deeper into it, but it's not. So,
all right, score predictions. Who wins?
I believe that UCF is going to win the game 28-13.
I like that. I did the thing again. I've talked about it every week where I got to the end and did not come up with numbers. I do think UCF's going to win. I think they're going to win. Give me a 30 piece. They're going to put 30 up. They're going to give up 16.
Okay, 30-16. That's your score?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Would that be scoregami? Has UCF ever had a 30-16?
Not off the top of my head, but
I can't explain. That's really not any different from my score prediction. I'm just mad at the idea of them winning 30-16. I don't know. Something about that bothers me.
It is literally 1 fewer point margin.
That's correct. It's dumb. I didn't say it was smart.
Math on this podcast, man. This is.
What'd you say?
Weird. So we do a lot of math on this podcast now.
We're a very math heavy podcast, the Pythagorean podcast. That's what we call ourselves.
All right, football news. We're light in the football news this week because of the bye week. There's no kickoff time to talk about, but just one UCF in the NFL update. RJ Harvey, 2 carries for 4 yards, 4 catches on 4 targets for 21 yards as the Broncos beat the Jets 13-11 over in London. That's really it. Nothing else to really get into there. Game of the week. Been a while since we've mentioned UCF men's soccer, but felt like I needed to after a 3-0 win against number 11 Georgia Southern over, I think it was on Friday night. So that UCF now comes into this week. They've got 2 games this week, but the game of the week is at Old Dominion Saturday at 7. UCF men's soccer 4-5-1, 2-2 in the Sun Belt. Old Dominion 4-4-2, 1-2 in the Sun Belt. They win this game. There's one, the bunches up near the top of the Sun Belt right now. Like they're not far off from where UCF is, even at 2-2 in the Sun Belt Conference. So they win this game. They start to stack some wins in the conference. They could be still as pedestrian as their record looks overall. They could be a top 2 or 3 team in the conference if they can start to string some things together. So, tweet of the week.
Tweet of the week this week goes to Bearcat Matt at Bearcat MTA. A little bit of behind the scenes before we get into what the actual tweet was. I had a little bit of trepidation selecting this account for tweet of the week because in all of my time on Twitter and fighting with fans, this is the only account that's ever actually had me a little creeped out and a little worried. I blocked this account several years ago because the guy was getting very creepy with the constant obsessive just mentions and tweets at me in my profile and everything I tweeted UCF related or not. So a little worried about bringing this up, but whatever. He found the Pegasus Podcast account, so I feel like we have to talk about this because it was just so great. Bearcat Matt tweeted a quote from, was this our preview pod for Cincinnati where we said this?
Yeah, I believe so.
And said, "You want to know how I know these guys are full of poop emoji and have no clue what they're talking about?" And it was the quote from our podcast was, "When we went to Cincinnati, I was stunned by how much Ohio State merch was on campus." So let's first off, let's go ahead and say it. He got us, Bailey. We came up with a very specific lie and we told it on the podcast. We invented that very specific detail.
I have a question. Can we not skip over the fact that he's listening to this podcast a week after it came out and 3 days after the game happened when they have a game that they probably should be moving on to now?
Remember this guy was weirdly obsessed with my account thing.
Mm-hmm.
Strange human being that he's doing that. But yeah,
Okay.
You're right. That's really that's what they refer to as generational hating, is going back and listening to a preview episode of a game you won and it's your opponent. But anyway, all that being said, before we even get in the comments, which are great, what would our motivation be for lying about that? I really don't.
I don't know.
I love that because obviously it's gotten like 40 likes and a bunch of Cincinnati fans like, they made that up. Why would we do that? Well, I've talked about multiple times in this podcast. We went to Cincinnati. I, as much as I hate them, was excited to see Nippert. I was like, this is like, it was always the big in the AAC. The big fight was Nippert versus the bounce house and stuff. And we're walking around campus. There's Ohio State shit everywhere. I didn't mean to just curse. I apologize. I just can't. I just really, that's funny alone that they're so sad, because the other thing about this is that when we went to that campus, you remember, it wasn't like we saw a guy in a shirt. It was a lot of Ohio State merch all over the place. So the Cincinnati fans liking these tweets, they know, like there's no way that they just.
It's an insecurity.
It's an insecurity, which I find really cute. And it's my favorite part about this is in this thing calling us liars, he got 2 replies from Cincinnati fans acknowledging it's true. My favorite was one guy going, "I don't know. I wear my OSU gear all the time. I was wearing it yesterday," which someone replied to them and said they need to give up your season tickets. The other one was my favorite, and I'm not going to tweet this. I'm not going to say the tweet verbatim because it's another Bearcat account. They had a lot of curse words in here, but they were pointing out that on the Jumbotron, a kid in the student section was wearing an Ohio State jersey at the game. And just Cincinnati fans, congratulations. You're having a good season. It's been a really rough time for you. Satterfield has unexpectedly turned it around. You're looking like one of the better teams in the Big 12, and I'm happy for you. It's okay to acknowledge that you're all tuned into the Ohio State game after. It's okay to acknowledge that. It's sad, and it's actually something that UCF has gotten past. I remember when I was a kid, and that was very much UCF's vibe on campus, especially before the football team was on campus, was that there were a lot of kids who grew up Florida fans or FSU fans and went to UCF and stayed fans of those teams as well. You'd see jerseys and stuff. Cincinnati fans just aren't there yet. They're a small little school stuck in the middle of downtown Cincinnati in a state that belongs to Ohio State, and that's their business to be the sad little, I think that's kind of, I don't know. Actually, the more I think about this, I'm jealous of them, Bailey. I am jealous of them because it would be, as much as UCF has pained me, it must be really cool for them that all those years that Cincinnati was bad, that was just a secondary thing for them to care about. Like they could just go, oh, well, at least Ohio State's winning the national championship. I'm jealous. I am.
I was going to say, like, to maybe give him an out here, but I don't even think I'm doing that because I'm about to call him dumb. I think he might be dumb enough to, like, hear you say Ohio State merch on campus and think you're talking about them, like, selling Ohio State merch rather than, like, seeing people wear it.
If he thought that, then yeah, he's dumb. That would just be. We're not going to get
even if he didn't think that, he's probably might still be a little dumb. But yeah.
I'm willing to bet there's Ohio State merch somewhere in that guy's home.
That's the thing is like we're walking around campus and walking around like the perimeter of campus on the day of like it's like we're not just saying this like as if we didn't see it with our own eyes in 2023. Like 2 years ago this happened, and we were having lunch. I don't remember if it was like right on campus. It might have been like right across the street from campus. I don't remember if that was good. Yeah, the pizza place was pretty good.
I hate it.
Ohio State was playing at noon that day, and that whole place was Ohio State fans. I did not see any Cincinnati people in that bar.
We saw them on the walkways. We saw them in the stadium. They were everywhere. And I get it. The Reds are very similar. Why buy Cincinnati merch when you can just repurpose your Ohio State merch? And the other thing I want to bring up is not to get like overly philosophical with it or whatever, but like I like am very big on like the future of the Big 12 and how important it is that this conference has success. As much as I don't like Cincinnati, I was genuinely annoyed by that. Like, I'm like, how are you a team that just went to the college football playoff and you haven't shed this, like, we're everyone's second favorite team? Like, that's bad for them. And I know that it's a struggle. Like I said, UCF, what really did it was getting football on campus. And honestly, it was up until like, let's be real. It was about 10 years ago that finally stopped, that they were finally able to get past that. And I don't know what it's going to take for Cincinnati, but like, yeah, that's a problem for you guys. Like, that is not good that your fan base still, and honestly, I do think that, and I'd be curious to hear from someone in Ohio on this. I do feel like part of it is like Florida's so divided as is, like between the Gators and Seminoles, and obviously no one who's a Miami fan actually went to Miami, but still there are people who are Miami fans. Like, I feel like the state of Ohio is so united behind Ohio State that like, yeah, Cincinnati, like that's just never going to be a thing they're going to be able to overcome. And that's sad. That's unfortunate for them.
I was looking this up because I thought for some reason I didn't think you took a picture, but I thought you tweeted at the time when we got into Nippert about Ohio State merch. I haven't found anything from that. I did find a tweet of yours where you said, "Just got a welcome to Cincinnati from a guy in an Ohio State jacket while walking around. Do it that way you will." So if we're lying, this lie is conspiracy. Elaborate. This is elaborate lie that we planted 2 years ago while we were in Cincinnati. We thought about it. We're like, let's do it. Let's do that.
We huddled. We're on the plane flying over, and we're like, what lies can we make up to tell about this place when we get back?
Yeah, I thought, because I remember when we walked in Nipper, I think I pointed out to you somebody in Ohio State gear. And
I was really not expecting that. I was so surprised.
I thought you tweeted about it or took a picture, but maybe you didn't, so I couldn't find it. But
I know that like
we're not lying.
I know that the G5s have a long way to go from a fan base perspective. Again, Cincinnati has much less of an excuse because they are A, very old, and B, were a power team for a very long time. But like when we went to TCU, the idea that we would ever see like a Texas shirt on that campus when we were there is insane. Like, it's just like, it's such an admonishment of a fan base to have that problem still. Post being in a power conference, post having a lot of success.
I was just... I wish you could have seen the confusion on my face when I was tagged, or like I got the notification that Pegasus Podcast was tagged in the tweet from, I think it was from like after what he tweeted it, like Barstool Cincinnati replied to it.
So it's funny you say that. I didn't get the notification until Barstool Cincinnati replied.
Yeah, so me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. But I saw that and I was like, what are they even on about? Like, I was like, I have moved on from that game. Why are we still talking?
The other reply I enjoyed was someone replied and said, I've literally never seen OSU merch on a casual campus day. That implies that, like, okay, but have you seen it on a game day?
Yeah,
because I don't
know. Weird people, weird fan base.
It's really too bad that UCF, the earliest UCF can beat them is 2027, because they really do deserve it. They're just such a terrible fan base, just really obnoxious, annoying people. Like I said, I've had many interactions with rival fan bases that I've appreciated the passion of those fans. And like, you know, it's like even like Gator fans and stuff, like you don't like them, but it's like this kind of deal. It's like Cincinnati fans are just, I'm not saying all of them. I'm not trying to generalize. The Twitter contingent of Cincinnati fans are just really it's insane. Like, not in a good way. Like, they're just really, we're not have to get into it.
And we would know. We deal with UCF fans on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's like there's level, like every fan base has obnoxious fans. Cincinnati fans are just like, they're different. And I mean that in the most derogatory way I possibly can, is how I would describe it.
Oh gosh. All right. I'm done focusing any more time on them. Let's move on to the end of the podcast.
I literally was like, what are we moving on to?
We'll be back to me saying goodbye. We'll be back on Saturday afternoon / evening, depending on, I don't know. This is such uncharted territory with a 1:00 kick. I don't really know what time this will get finished and how long TNT broadcasts are. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll be back on Saturday.
Confused fans are going to be like getting to their seats at like 11:45, not understanding that the game's like so far away.
Yeah, we'll be back on Saturday with episode 296. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @CA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We will talk to you on Saturday.
Bye, everybody.